In this video, we're going to take a look at another application of these same principles in a non-traditional environment. We're going to look at a sales process. So say at my company, I want to generate 14 new customers every day. And I'm going to do, maybe this is an abbreviated version of this process, but again, I would observe it if I were at the company. First thing I got to do is generate some leads. Then I do some demos. I make some negotiations. There's then a payment process that occurs. And then there's a setup or like a deployment team. Now we're going to do the same math and take our available shift time. This time, these processes take a little longer, so we're not going to work in seconds. We'll stay with minutes. And I say I have 480 minutes of available work time per shift. I take that 480, divide it by 14, and it's going to say you have a tack time of 34 minutes. Every 34 minutes, I need to be processing a new customer to reach my production goal. Now, is this right? Not exactly. Now, this original assumption of 480 minutes is wrong. You need to account for cultural activities, right? I'm referring to things like ping pong or foosball or fun get-togethers and celebrations. I'm also referring to a larger portion of what takes away available productive work time, which is meetings. So if I suck those out, that's going to change my assumption quite drastically. Maybe I only have 5 hours of productive work time now, because 3 hours of that is meetings or these other activities. Likely it's meetings. That's going to leave me with 300 minutes per shift. I now take that 300 divided by 14, and that gives me a tack time of 21 minutes. Every 21 minutes, my process, this entire process, needs to be producing a customer. Great, so if 21 minutes is my goal, how many people do I need to support that? Well, to figure that out, we need some additional data. So here's my process. I got my target of 14 customers, tack time of 21 minutes. And here's what we got to do. We got to break this up. This isn't a single person that's doing all of these jobs, right? So you might have a lead generation team that's doing one portion. We call that LG. The second portion might be your sales team. This part here is likely finance. And your setup and deployment. It's a deployment team. They never call them that. They usually call them something more fancy like customer specialists. And now we need data for each of the steps in this process. So let's work backwards. It's going to be easier to do it that way. You typically start at the end of your process and work back. We need 14. All right, that's our goal, to set up and deploy 14 customers. That's going to be the same goal as how many we're converting. Right? These might not be the same day, but it might be the day after I'm converting the ones that I payment processed the day before. Either way, those are going to be the same because you can't deploy more than what is paid. Negotiation, to get 14 customers, maybe I have to negotiate with 28 potential clients to convert 50% of those into 14. To get 28 negotiations in process, maybe I need to set up 115 demos that will result in 28 negotiations. Now, how many leads do I need to generate to get 115 demos set up? It's probably even higher. Now, I don't know the real numbers. These are made up. But again, the company should definitely have these numbers. So here's an example. We have all of our numbers here. Now, let's take it a step further. Now, if you recall, our entire process here had a tack time of 21 minutes. However, each of these steps because there's different numbers here. Each of these are going to have their own tack time. And we need to know that in order to calculate how many people we have and make sure that we're going fast enough. So we'll take our 300 minutes, divide it by 675, that's how many we need, and it's going to equal a little less than half a minute. I'm just going to put half minute for our purposes. That becomes my tact for my lead folks. Now, let's back into some other math here. Let's say if I'm watching that process, I learn that, it takes 4 minutes for a person to generate a lead. That means in a single shift of 300 minutes, I can generate 75 leads. I can then take that 75, divide it into how many I need to get in a day, and that will say, okay, I need 9 people to reach my goal of 675. Let's just do a quick gut check. If I take my 4 minutes, divide it by my 9 people, I get the exact same number as my tack time. So we know that 9 people is the right amount. Now let's go ahead and look at demos and negotiation. We'll do the same quick math here. If I can do 5 in a day, which probably isn't unrealistic, demos take 30 minutes to an hour depending on the software or the product. So if I can take 5, divide it into my 115, right, that's this number here, that's going to say I need 23 salespeople to reach that goal. I'm not going to worry too much about negotiations. One, I'm going to assume that it doesn't take a lot of the salesperson's time, and I'm also going to assume that they have help from probably a sales manager. So I'm going to assume that's negligible for the time being. Now let's keep going with finance. Let's say I've collected this data over time and I found that one person can process 3 deals a day. I divide 3 into my 14, a little more than 4, which gives me 5. And for customer specialists, we'll say the same thing, about 3 a day. Divide that, 4 plus, gives me 5 people I need there. To summarize the number of people now we have, 9 lead generators, 23 sales folk, 5 finance, and 5 customer specialists. Now this isn't everyone that we need. What about managers? And the big question on managers is, are they working managers? If they are working managers, we can include them as part of our numbers up here. If they are not working managers, we should not include them in those 23, and they will increase our headcount by however many you need per person on these teams. So maybe it's a 4-to-1 ratio, so I need 6 managers here. It's a 5-to-1 ratio on these teams, and a 5-to-1 ratio on the lead generator team as well. All right, so suddenly my headcount just went up for my support team. These people aren't even part of the process generating new sales. They really just support. You'll also have developers. Again, these aren't part of your new customer generation process. You have admin assistants. You have HR, none of which are part of that process, but are required for your company to run. These ones here are the ones that will help you produce new customers every 21 minutes. Now, if your processes aren't that repeatable or reliable, I would definitely focus on trying to make them such. A lot of people, because they don't know how to do that, or it really is that unpredictable, will just add a buffer of folks. So yeah, I know I need 23 sales folk in the perfect world. Well, in the perfect world where I don't have to work for 3 hours, do productive work for 3 hours. They'll just increase that. Maybe they'll carry 3 extra. and roll that up as some sort of buffer to make sure that they can hit that 21 minutes. They don't realize they're doing this, but this is the math behind why they're making these decisions. All they're seeing is, oh shoot, we're not hitting this, and it looks like there's a bottleneck in the sales area. If they were to time everything and do this math, they would realize the reason why they're doing those things. As we wrap up, I want to visit our process one last time to see how we can make better use out of these numbers that we have. And I would focus primarily on these three up here. Playing with these numbers will greatly impact the number of heads I have to carry at my company. If I can find a way to convert my leads more effectively into demos, to where I only have to generate 500 to turn them into 115, that means the number I have to do per day would drop if I kept my 9 people, or I could not keep 9 people. I could drop down to 7 or something like that. If I wanted to grow sales, I would probably keep those 9 on, generate more than my 500, and generate more demos than what's required to get my 14. Doing the same thing with demos to negotiations. If I can fine-tune my demo to where customers are really drawn into it, maybe I don't need 115 anymore. Maybe I only need 75. And from negotiations, maybe there's a sign-on deal to where it allows you to convert more customers. Maybe you only need 19 to turn it into those 14. And again, I can use that difference now to either drop the number of people I have, let natural attrition take its course and not backfill, or I can keep these 23 people on and grow my sales, focus on that growth. Now, how you achieve this, that'll be up to process improvement, fine-tuning demos, fine-tuning the negotiations. What you're trying to do, though, is play with these numbers to still try to achieve this 14 as efficiently as possible. So that's it. That is how you can capture how many people you need, how fast you have to go, in kind of an obscure environment.